I forgot to. I wasn't looking at the time. Forgot to post a couple things, so like a couple seconds, and in 1 second, gotta handle everything. Alright, cool. Sorry, I was just taking care of a couple things before I got. I checked again. And then, of course, I forgot to open up Pixel Chat. Okay, hold on. Bueller. Alright, there we go. Alright. But hey, Stubby, hey, Cat Wizard. Good to see y'all. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope the day was restful and productive. Sorta over here. I would say that in a general sense, a couple of things have been going relatively well-ish. I haven't put together the new the monitor arms yet, because while they are here, and that is great and that is good, I'm waiting for the other monitor to come in so I can just do everything kind of like all at once. Okay. Okay, that's what happened. I was like, why did I get an extra notification on Twitch why did I get an extra notification on Discord when I know that I didn't see anything recently? I was like, what is going on? I was like, okay, yeah, cool. That's what happened. Nothing bad. Yeah. It's been non-stop raining for the past 10 hours. Oh, hey, Sabira. I just finished off my my cred set for all my jobs except for Ninja, because Ninja's... What's that supposed to mean, Shan? You want to explain that one to me, buddy? When is the monitor supposed to arrive? I do not know. I mean that in the literal sense of it seems like the only time that Throne like tells me these things is when it ships, and so I got price completion for both the monitor arm and the whatchamacallit, and the actual other monitor itself, but I have not yet received confirmation that the monitor has shipped. So they were like saying something akin to like it usually takes like 3 to 12 business days for whatever to clear. So yeah, I don't know when it's gonna show up. Um, Basically, whenever it clears is when I assume within a couple days after that is when it ships, and then we're gonna go from there. Whatever day it comes, I will then have to figure out how to get the back of like the back stand for the monitor taken off, and then I'm gonna have to screw on both plates and then go from there. I think I should have enough room. I may have to like move my microphone a little bit again, but I should have enough room to Fruit Loop, to like actually mount it like in roughly the same spot where everything is now and still be good. My only regret is that yeah. My only regret is that I have a sticker on the base of the hi Vinka. I have a sticker on the base of the monitor for Ariel, like over here. And that sticker basically kind of doesn't really go anywhere now because I'm not going to be using the stand for the monitor anymore once the other monitor comes in and once I actually set up the arms. The arms are like mostly disassembled on the floor back over here. Are mostly, and then once like the actual monitors come in, I'm trying to figure out if it makes more sense to just mount them, and then do that, or put the assembly together, mount them on the assembly while it's together, and then go from there. I don't know which more practical yet. But yeah. My sympathy, Shen. I also I basically picked up Ninja just in time for the Dawn Trail rework to entirely not scrap, but for Dawn Trail changes to like make not everything I've learned not relevant, but enough to be like, oh, okay, well, I now know enough to know what I'm not going to miss. But so that goes. But yeah, hopefully everybody's doing well. Yeah, today's plan for Shoot Lancer is we're just gonna do more enemy waves mostly. And I think there's maybe like one other thing that I need to knock out. Let me go open up the stream notes notepad. I need to go clock my time because I haven't done it in a little while. That's not good. When I say clock, I mean in the sense of like I've been writing down what I've been doing, but I haven't like put them down in it. Super tired today, want to say hi stuff. I feel that. I had to get up way earlier than I normally do today to help somebody keep an appointment. Nothing bad, but which is one of those things where I was up at like what 7:30. Yeah, like 7-ish is when the alarm went off. I didn't get out of bed until like a little bit later than that. And yeah, I've been just up and kind of like out and around most of the day. So I'm pretty sure we're still gonna try to push till 9 for stream. Hi, Kettle. But we gotta see, physically speaking, how well I hold up. I think I will be okay. I am not exceptionally stressed about it. Insofar as like, do I have the energy to keep doing like the things that I am doing? I'm pretty sure. All this other stuff that's unsaved. Right. I see how it is. Wait, what happened? What? Huh? Oh, there's a pretentious game jam starting July 1st, running to the end. Yeah. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just mistype. I'm gonna assume it's like probably like a mistype or a missend or something. Don't stress it. Um. Thank you so much, Sasha, for the 7 months. 7 months up. Deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much for putting down the hype. Does permit pose count as potential? Because I can do that. Yes. Depending on how purple the pose is, absolutely. Um, I'm only like smacking my chest because as much as I love my alerts and the sounds that I pick for them and everything, I jump scare myself with them all the time. Um, because they kind of just do the thing, and I just kind of go like, ah, God, but oh, I thought you just had mosquitoes. No, not often, but every now and again. What's that? Yeah, but yeah, no mosquitoes, thankfully. Just letting my own alerts like scaring the living like horse shit out of me, as it does. Oh no, my battery is running out. Oh no. Go ahead and charge that, Vinka. And even if you must lurk in spirit, we know that you are here. Um, yeah, do what you need. But yeah, Foot Loop, if you're still here, how have you been? It's been a minute. Are you well? I hope you are well. Um, pardon me. But yeah, today's plan is mostly to throw down some waves. Let me go open up. That's what's in my to-do list also, which means that it is most likely, given that it's also in my to-do list, that is probably the thing that I was planning on working on today, which means that Black patterns. Hang on a second, just checking that. Boss. Up, boss. Titles for 3 seconds. And up and down for a bit. And back. During this time, the boss only fires bombs, not hitting Okay, so flight patterns are done. I'm updating some things on our Notion real quick. Um, while I have the time. Logo is not my responsibility. General polish and drop rates. Okay. Right. Alas, I don't have any energy for game dance right now. Hoping to get back into the swing of things in the fall, hopefully. Last I'd love to work on a game with you. Hey, hey, the fall. When the fall falls in, I'm just saying. But okay, right. Let's review where Shoot Lancer's at right now first before I talk about doing enemy waves. So, a lot of the stuff that I worked on last week was basically just about moving around, right? Got new animations for Leona's projectile, like her bullets and stuff, as well as for her bomb. The bomb itself moves faster now. Um, the trooper has its movement pattern. So basically, the thing that I wound up doing is wait, oops, I gotta go update the Notion again because I typoed the thing. So basically, yeah, y'all haven't seen the full boss movement pattern yet. So I'm gonna show y'all what that looks like. So y'all see that and have that. Um, all right, I forgot to go post. Did I forget to post the thing? Um, okay, no, cool. I did forget to post it in some other spots, so I'm gonna go do that now before I forget again, because brain is braining the way that brain does brainy brain. All right, so that there. Okay, cool. Upside to new work schedule, we'll be able to catch more screen. Happy to have y'all. Truly, really and truly, I'm happy to have y'all here. That though, we love to hear it. So right, I will go show y'all where we're at so far. Um, so I did manage to update the game to like Godot 4.2 without everything like exploding horribly, which I'm also grateful for. I'm not the current. Don't do this to me right now. Hold up. Of course, it would go ahead and do that. Sorry, my heart stopped for like half a second because it ju- I went to go fix the mixer and it jumped over to my other screen. So my heart kind of just went like, yeah. I jump scared myself because it switched screens on. So y'all remember why I've been like, hey, having a new monitor would be really helpful for reasons like this. if I have something open on another window right now, like on the other screen, so to speak, the computer jumps over there when I click stuff, and sometimes that causes shenanigans. It doesn't like it wasn't the thing that caused it to like switch scenes like that, but basically what was happening was I was trying to go back over to the volume mixer, and the volume mixer was already open on the other screen that I had open. So for half a second, it jumped over there. Um, Thankfully, I didn't have anything like sensitive on the other screen, but this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I'm like, oh yeah, I tend to have like issues with this. I tend to have issues where if I'm not careful about the stuff that I'm like clicking, then I get things where I switch screens without meaning to, and that's not cool. Having a dual monitor setup makes it so that that doesn't happen as frequently because I can basically set it up so that the only monitor that ever streams information to that ever streams stuff to um, y'all is the monitor that does not have sensitive stuff on. I can keep all the sensitive stuff on one monitor and then stream only the other one to, you know, the actual. I can stream one monitor to y'all and let the other one have all the sensitive stuff on it. So that stuff like that happens well. It should be okay. Oh, hang on, I see it. Because Stubby was like, my left ear appreciates that. I'm assuming that there is something nasty sounding with the. Hang on a second. The capture card. Yeah, I know. I saw it when I literally switched scenes. I saw that it was peaking like hot red for no reason. Yeah, I had a feeling. Hang on. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like it's something that's wrong with the. Hold on. So I'm gonna mute the Avermedia real quick. I'm gonna run the game again, and if yeah, it looks like there's some shenanigans going on. Hold on. Okay. Hold on a second. One Mississippi, two Mississippi, five Mississippi. Okay. Just give me 1 second. I'm restarting a capture card. Sometimes when you get like that loud staticky stuff, it means that there is usually some kind of it usually means that there's usually some kind of bullshit going on with the cap card, and I just have to like give it a restart and make it go like, hey, I need you to do me a favor and like chill out a little. Um, Sometimes that happens. But yeah, I'm really sorry about that, y'all. I was not expecting that to happen. Ideally, um, one of the things that will happen with like having a nice second monitor is that this shit doesn't happen because give me crap. Why? Completely off topic. Is the VCR VHS effects on some of the horror game and period pieces games code, art, or mix of both? Um, Honestly, depending on the specific distortion, it is probably a shader, which is probably code. I know this because I reposted it on co-host probably earlier in this week. But there is this game called Kitsune Tales that has like a CRT filter mode, and from the way that the lead dev and programmer described it, she literally used like a plug. I'm pretty sure it was her, right? Or at least a member of her team. I might be misremembering this because I'm spitballing this. TLDR programming probably there's a shader for that. But shader programming is shader programming is a very different animal, is the simplest way to put it. If you know how to use shaders and you program shape and you can like, okay, hang on, it's being silly. Oh wait, did it? I forgot to like actually refresh this part. Okay. Shader, like programming shaders can be okay, we should be good now. All right. Everybody's eardrums are relatively safe, yeah? No like weird angy staticky bullshit, right? We're good? I'm not scaring Sasha on the can anymore. And everyone's eardrums are safe. Just asking so that I can be sure before like we go on ahead. I mean, I'm willing to learn it. To be honest, how can I make the horror game? Yeah, like basically, if you learn how to program shaders, you get a lot of mileage out of what you can do with games. The main thing is that like programming. I don't hear any static. Okay, cool. Yeah, the main thing about like yeah, let me just do this. All right. Yeah. With shader programming, I've only like tried to maybe delve like a little bit into it. But basically, with shader programming, it's a thing where you are asserting like a very direct and complete control over the way that you what's the word I'm looking for? That stuff displays on your screen, which is why if you know how to do it, and you learn how to program shaders, you kick immense amounts of ass. But getting to that point can be kind of tricky. Hi, Cal. Okay, so now that I'm not like accidentally killing people's eardrums with this, let's try this again. Yeah, like shaders are how you get lighting effects. Nowadays, shaders are probably how you do palette swaps as well. So like if you, I'm going to use fighting games as an example. How are you doing, Cal? Hopefully well. Good to see you. I'm going to use fighting games as an example for this because I do that. In 2D fighting games, being able to do like, or even just 2D games in general where you like swap palettes and stuff like that, at least for modern game engines, writing a shader that controls that is super important. I didn't do that for like much sleep, kind of woozy, but I'm hydrated at least. We take those. Hang on a second. I messed something up with this code. First focus target was never set for the options menu. Let's fix that. Options menu scene. Nope. I have to do it in the title screen. I'm gonna do options menu. Nope, over here. First focus target is the gameplay. Shaders use math, and the math I'm good at. Oh, you went to go check it out? Yeah. Shaders are basically all math. Mm-hmm. Like Sabira said, you can use shaders to program lighting effects. A lot of other like really cool stuff. Basically, I never got deep into it. For for Shootlancer, KT has stated that she is interested in in picking that up. So we will see. Yeah, for me, in my case, it was just one of those things where, okay, I'm saying this as carefully as I can because I'm entirely aware that if I say this incorrectly, y'all are going to literally just smother me in an avalanche of like, you know better than to say that. I am not, me and math, we don't have an understanding past a certain point. I can sort of muddle my way through on a lot of math concepts, but there are certain things with math where I'm just like, the brain does not brain. I do not think it is impossible for me to pick it up, but it generally takes me a lot longer to learn and understand and internalize math concepts as relates to games. And I usually have a hard time articulating how the thing works, even when I know how it works. If you remember my whole explanation about sine waves from last time, that is an example of what I mean. Like, I can explain the general reasoning behind why the sine wave stuff works the way that it does, but I cannot exactly be like, I can tell you the math from A to Z. It is not one of the things I'm good at. I wish I was better at it, but it is not a skill set that I have. Okay, this works then. I'm like that with a lot of stuff, which is why I'm surprised it's actually math like it that never happens. Math has rules. And once you understand those rules, it becomes very, very easy to make sure that they don't, like, that those rules do not get in your way. That is the simple, or rather, once you understand those rules, things are significantly less complicated. Every time you say that, I'm just reminded of how consistently you scored better than me in the one math class we had together. I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you how. But you were great at the big picture and explaining concepts, which I am eternally grateful for. Yeah. That much I seem to have, like, definitely got together. Oh, right. A couple new things. So, for this part, you can no longer, like, do regular shots when the enemies come up. You actually have to, like, dispense the bomb. I was able to figure out how to do that while that was going on. Enemy bombs is what that should say. I need to correct that. So yeah, the only thing that happened when I updated to Godot 4.2 is that you get that little jitter. I think I may have to do a thing where, like, I have to do something where I think I need to And there we are. Right, like now we have like the full so yeah, that's the full pattern basically. I'm probably gonna adjust it a little bit more today, even just to like kind of and maybe like figure out a couple of little things just to really kind of sink it in a little. Well, yeah, that's the basic pattern, right? Boss will sit still for about 3 seconds. When did it start shaking? When it get it's always had that animation. Like when the little explosions show up and it's like just and it's doing the jittering. Yeah, no, KT animated that by hand. Like the jitters and the explosions when it runs out of HP. KT animated those all that by hand on the sprite. It's been there. Um, that's been there since we had that sprite for that enemy. So yeah, the plan right now is to add a couple more waves in between the boss, in between like what the current last wave is of the boss. And I think I'm probably gonna let me do that right now actually. So I'm gonna go mess around a little bit with one thing real quick. Uh, quote. Oh, there's a question I had about this game. How y'all handling accessibility? Um, so right now I haven't done a full sit down of all the features. What's the word that I'm looking for? Right now I haven't sat down to at least do a run through of like all of the physical features in terms of what are things that I need to make sure are options, right? Um, in a normal circumstance, right? How do I put it? Like with viral core busters, for example, right? Because I'm work basically I work out what we need for accessibility stuff as we go along in the sense that if there are things that I immediately think of, then it's like, right. So as an example, a thing that's sort of like hardwired and it's probably not going to be an option to toggle is the way that shooting works, right? Like you don't have an option to either like, oh, I want to mash the shoot button versus I want to hold it. Like holding it is literally the reason why. Let me phrase that differently. Having the option to that's still not right. The fact that you can hold down the button to shoot is already an inbuilt accessibility thing that we were thinking that we were already going to handle. Control remapping is obviously going to be something that is going to be included. That's why I went to all the trouble of trying to find stuff to display input glyphs anyway, because you need that if you're going to have remap. You're going to have like controls that can be rebound. I just literally have not made the rebinding menu yet because I don't know how to do it in Godot. It is a thing that I literally have to go and research to go figure out how do you do control remapping and rebinding in Godot. I do not know how to do it yet. But that's obviously going to be a thing. Those are like the major ones I can think of off the top of my head. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be more, but that it will probably be responsive to both things that come up as like things that come up in terms of like, oh, right, people are playing it and they notice that this is a problem. We check, oh, yeah, we kind of didn't account for that in accessibility stuff. But basically at the bare minimum, the answer to how are we handling accessibility is literally rebindable controls are obviously going to be a thing, and that's why you can hold to shoot instead of having to tap. This doesn't mean that those are the only things, but those are the immediate major things off the top of the dome that I know either we've covered or we're gonna cover. It doesn't mean that there won't be more things that I'm not thinking of right now. But the answer is mostly as we identify major ones, we're going from there. If you're talking about things like difficulty settings and things like that, I don't, as a design ethos thing, I do not believe in making difficulty low. Let me phrase this very carefully. Make sure this doesn't get clipped out of context. I, yeah, it's kind of obnoxious that so much physically people think to add a server place on the internet. Godot should have documentation on this. Not knock on you, by the way, you're doing great. Just irritated the game industry. Well, the thing is that it's one of those things where Godot probably has documentation for how you set and change inputs at runtime. It's just that. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to control remapping, it's one of those things where it is largely dependent on what platform you're using, right? And how it is that they pull and process inputs. So with Unity, right? Like Unity's old default input system is kind of just like hot, wet garbage shit for that. Um, right? And so while Godot's input system in terms of like how you set up inputs has been relatively straightforward, right? That means that the process for like setting up like control remapping was never a thing that I learned how to program even in Unity because um, I got a plugin that handles control inputs way better than Unity's default control input did, um, and used the remapping that was provided by that as opposed to like anything else, right? So when I say that, I have to like look it up and or like learn it, right? It's one of those things where it's just like I don't know. Unity's new input system is supposedly closer to the rewired plugin that I was using, but I do not know because I have not used Unity since picking up Godot. But yeah, let me see, float. What's the name? What did I call this thing? Hang on a second. I was saying something about the title. I lost it. I think. Yeah, that chain of thought is off to the races now. It's all right. Don't stress it. It happens. Um, at some point, it will either come back to me or somebody will remember what I was talking about and then remind me. So it's fine. Uh, as you want this. Okay. Headshot. Quote. The one time that predictive text actually did the thing that makes me happy. Like the predictive text actually literally predicted what I wanted to put in here, and I'm grateful about that. Um, for once, I I am sincerely impressed. It actually did the thing. Yeah, that train of thought is completely lost. I don't remember what I was saying. Um, I do not remember at all. Uh, okay, over here we're gonna do enemies. Who has thoughts anyway? Hey, KT, self weapon. Oh, that's gonna be a problem, isn't it? Because this is set to that. Okay, hold on a second. Gotta think this through very carefully. Gotta think this through very carefully. The solution's really obvious. I need to go put this in the base. Hang on a second. Then I have to grab these and put them in here because I don't really have a choice. Hang on a second. The only thing that is tricky about doing inheritance like this, the way that I'm doing it. How you doing, KT? Hopefully well. How did TTRPG solo design go? I saw that you were streaming it, but I was like, Brittany was out to lunch, and so I did not get a chance to stop by and see how that went. Dot. Wait a second. This cannot be a static variable. Here, 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 weapon. Good. Got the progress on the idea. Also, help me get some anxiety about making the logo. Good. Excellent. The float spread default. The alt Y direction for weapons spread. Spread. Alt. Alt Y. All right. So, uh, change Y here. All right. The narrower. Said before that the narrower that variable is. Ouchie. Ow. Tummy, don't sting. Tummy, please stop stinging. Smaller the number, the narrower the angle. So I want it to be a little wider. I want it to be a little wider. Ah, tummy. Tummy, you're stinging and that's not okay. Please don't do that. Okay, cool. Uh, so that's already handled. Now, yeah, I want this to that. Then as you're moving. No self-weapon. All right. So it's protected, but it should be readable. Or no. Killing me. To answer your question, Kettle, yes, I do use Visual Studio. Float, spread shot, right direction. Protected set. There we go. If I really should use that over VS Code. I mean, it depends, right? Like if if the engine that you're using does not like if it has decent support for VS Code, then there's no reason to like not use VS Code. Like, yeah, for me in my case, it's mostly that like it is largely like inertia that keeps me doing it. Um, it's mostly like inertia that keeps me on it more than anything else. But if VS Code works with the thing that you are doing and doesn't like break miserably, then I see no reason not to. I haven't been playing music. I'm sorry. I stopped playing music because I was like doing stuff and I wasn't thinking about it. Okay. Um, bosses. Yeah. Added ability for weapons. Change Y action. And I may have to adjust that later. I'm gonna I'm gonna increase the frequency a little bit and increase the amplitude a little. Uh, Amplitude of the pulses. of so basically, by increasing the amplitude and the frequency, the idea is that the boss will swing a little more strongly. So basically, right, going back to that high concept explanation, or like the big picture explanation, because I have the boss moving using a sine wave when it's moving vertically, increasing the amplitude basically changes which extremes the boss actually like switches to, like how far up or down it goes, whereas the frequency is basically like how how frequently it bobs up and down. Okay. No, I think I got to do it the other way around. I think where if it is greater than 0.05 f, I'm gonna take it and make it gradually shrink. The frequency being 4 is about right. But I may need to just I may need to frequency goes back to 4, amplitude goes to 100. I know they have an ad going. I'm just letting that go for a second while I think about the next thing I'm gonna do. Can I ride in the back seat if I'm good? Welcome on in, Freedom Dow. Sorry, non sequiturs still get me. Yes, it is. Can I give honest critiques? Not looking for that right now. I appreciate you asking first before just doing it, but no, not looking for that right now. Not really. If there are things that you like, then by all means you may say so. But if it's like, hey, I think you should do this, or hey, I think you should do that, that sort of falls under the whole purview of like technically backseating, and is not necessarily the thing I'm looking for right now. So if you want to hang and chill and like do all that stuff, you can. But in terms of like, hey, I think you should do this because it looks bad. It's like because it looks this, it looks bad. Not looking for that. But I appreciate you asking first. Game volume is slightly higher than your voice. Okay, that's a stream feedback, which is entirely fair because it just means that I need to like adjust the actual. I need to adjust the mixer volume, which is good to know, and that is fine. That is not like a game feedback thing. That is a hey, you need to adjust the audio on the stream thing. Very different. Let me back to Windows so I can actually like. Give me a second. I have to mix this down some more. As good as I can get without like knocking it all the way out. Here. Trying to think. Okay, so that's okay. Yeah, like it's usually just me. Yeah, whenever that happens, it usually means that I just literally need to like mix the audio a little lower, not in the game itself, but for my computer, the thing from there. So the frequency needs to be left alone. That's fine. Amplitude is probably maybe increase it like 70, and that will give us about vertical clearance that we want. I think no amplitude is already there, so like 120, and I think that's probably 40 to 120. Let me think. You want the shots wider there. Yeah, no. Now you clear. No, once you clarified, you're good. So yeah, apology accepted. But once you clarified, it was good. Because at first I was just like, okay, wait, hold up. But if it was literally just like a, hey, your audio is too loud compared to like you speaking, entirely cool. The game is very impressive. Not having played it, I like the colors and style play thing. Yeah. I mostly just do the programming primarily. A lot of the art and stuff is thanks to. Hang on. These two, um, like Ludo Draconis VT and Solaris Una are basically like the two people that have been handling a lot of like the art stuff. Um, so between the two of them is why it looks as good as it does. What are the plans for the game so far? Have you shipped any platforms? Right now, this is literally the right now this is literally just the prototype that I've been working on with the team for like the last couple of months. I can immediately say that let me just if you want to know more about the team itself, our actual co-op is called it's called Munity. We have a website there. We have a Patreon where you can support us over there. But like for the game itself, right now the plan is to have the prototype up on itch. That's that third link right there where it says munity.itch.io. That's where the link to the prototype is. It is not exactly the same as what y'all are seeing on screen right now because that one is like a little bit behind, but we're going to update that prototype link closer to the end of June because we basically update every month uh, once we have something there. Um, right now, the plan is that PC and Linux are definitely targets. Steam is probably a yes. Anything further than that, I cannot speak on just yet because some of it is going to be dependent on timeframes and stuff that I don't have control over. Um, if you could give a suggestion on how to successfully build and lead a team that can produce next generation developers, truthfully, there isn't like any one thing that I could say. It mostly just comes down to, I guess, if I had to pick one thing off the top of my head, it's sort of the same thing that I used to tell. It's a thing that I used to tell my students a lot when I was teaching game design not too long ago, which is that this is gonna sound paradoxical because you said that because of how you said the game looks great, but this is the thing that I think is important to talk about. Um, Oftentimes, right, the thing about um, making a game that is quote unquote quality, right, is that you it's not like it's a bad thing like sit down and draft up concept arts and all that other stuff, but when you're actually making the thing, it matters less if it is ugly and more if it works. And so what do I mean by that? People who have been here for a while, who have been watching like the development of this game for a while, they will be the first people to tell you that when I was initially streaming a lot of like the programming stuff for Shoot Lancer, like truthfully, we didn't have a background. Not like the nice animated parallax background that you see here now. We haven't had that for longer than maybe like 2, maybe 3 months at that. For the longest time, the player was literally just a green block with the letter P on it. And all of the enemies were literally just like squares with like a letter or two on them so I could tell apart which ones were which, right? Um, the game, you can always make the game pretty over time and you should plan for that. But if you are trying to just figure out if the game is the thing that you even want to do, start ugly, keep it ugly for a bit, and just work out how it feels. Start adding in visual stuff as you need it to sort of like flesh out how people can visually look at it and understand it because there is a way of like communicating people to people information about how the game works by virtue of the visuals. Absolutely, right? But key, right, such as it is, key is that you have to, yeah, like a game being pretty doesn't mean anything if you haven't spent enough time working on the systems. And sometimes to work on the systems for the game has to be ugly for a little while. You just get your little squares, color them different colors, and maybe put letters on them so you can tell what's what. But don't worry about like getting your super smooth running animation in like the first week that you're making a platform. It doesn't matter. What matters is, can you make the thing feel right when you are controlling it? Figure out, and this doesn't mean like you don't start early with like concept art and things like that, but it means that you do not spend like your first, at least in the experience that I have had, right? You not spend your first week going, I'm going to make this really elaborate movement sprite and have that in and have like no real movement in that, right? No, get you a square, put the letter P on it, and just work on the basic nuts and bolts of, does this thing work and move around? There's a game that almost teaches this as Aesop Checkout Space Funeral. I haven't heard of it, but I will go look that up at some point. But yeah, like the thing that I always used to tell my students was that it is more important, and okay, this is especially true of like game jams, right? Okay, the other thing that I will say in regards to like suggestions, aside from if the thing works and it's ugly, that's better if it's pretty and it doesn't. The other thing is very simply, right? Especially if you are just starting. It's like, I'm going to make my first video game. What do I make? Keep it simple, right? And you may get conflicting advice about like, well, no, like make the thing that you want to make for your first game and make it complicated as you want. But the thing that you have to also, thank you whoever followed. Follow alerts are kept like anonymous because like, you know, we want to make sure that people can like lurk if they want to. But yeah, like my main thing is mostly just, aside from that, like keep it simple. Like your first game ideas, keep them simple so you can start and finish and start and finish and start and finish. Right? Like a game does not have to be exceedingly complex to be fun. And sometimes even a game doesn't even have to be, how do I put it? Your first game doesn't have to be perfect and doesn't have to be fun. Like maybe your first game is rather weak by your standards. Like you don't really do much but like jump and click and that's about it or something, right? You still finish the game. It's done. It's playable. Whether or not it is quote unquote good or not is an entirely different thing, but you have to know how to finish a thing in order to finish a thing. Um, and sometimes that means that you have to learn how to like compromise to a certain degree in terms of like, right, how do I make sure that I get a thing done without like overextending myself by like trying to finesse it till it's like absolutely perfect. Working on smaller, shorter projects more frequently when you can is basically how you learn how you work, and by proxy, like how you learn how to compromise. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Hold on. That timer's probably starting over. I gotta check that real quick. Where is it? Idle state. Yeah, here it is. So If bomb timer dot bomb timer dot. I can't remember the name. Um, that should say true. Otherwise, not gonna run. I almost have that backwards. That should fix that. But the biggest problem having the programs and being too few around is too much for UM. Do you think programs will lag behind the GPU? I honestly couldn't tell you. Unfortunately, my forte in game dev does not. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? While I am a game dev, I am not super deep on like that optimization end of things. So I honestly could not give you a straight answer on that. I am not certain. Um, Knowing what I know of Moore's law, it's one of those things where I don't know if we've hit the point yet where we are at minimal gains out of new GPU systems. Like I never really got deeply into like keeping up with that, so I could not straight up tell you. I don't know. Yeah, scoring doubles is happening way too often. I gotta figure out what to do about that. Oh, okay, so it's not going at all now. All right, hang on a second. Gotta think this out. This means that the condition that I'm presupposing is wrong. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So basically, what was wrong there is that because I was looking for paused, and the timers weren't paused, they're stopped. So um, only run the bomb and state. Only start the bomb and state timers if they are already stopped when you are in this state. If state machine dot current state equals this, then we do that. So this way we don't get like a bomb slipping out when it's not supposed to. Cool. Bug fix. Stage 1 boss was constantly restarting timers if shot while idling. So yeah, I'm definitely going to add more waves to stage 1 um, before we leave today. But it's one of those things where thankfully that does not take very long because of the way that I set it up. I just have to duplicate a couple things, move some things around, and then go from there. Um, yeah, there we go. Okay, good. That works. I just need to go mess with something in the audio. The audio managers that I noticed that I need to go fix. Hang on a second. Okay. Let me make sure one thing real quick. Okay. Because, yeah, like adding new enemy waves is not super complicated, thankfully. process that I made relatively for myself. Override this method to stream on stream. Basically, I'm trying to fix a thing with the odd. I'm trying to fix an issue with the audio manager where it doesn't actually pay attention to like what trying to fix an issue with the audio manager where it's not paying attention to like what the actual previous audio was. I noticed it happening while messing with it, and so I'm like, right, I gotta sit down and try to figure this out. Okay, fine. Okay, I know how to deal with this. I think. Uh, Name. There we go. That should fix that now. Uh, da, da, da. Plays new music. The name of piece of music to play. Instance that track name. So let's see. Stores old track name. Setting D on. Which is the music over. Now, the only thing I can't figure out is why the previous track position isn't saving quite correctly, but I will figure that out later. I just want to make sure I get this back up. Then we're going to do the next set of waves. Probably add in like another 3, I think, and then we should be good to go. Hang on, y'all. I know that Freedom Dow was saying earlier that when I put the volume mix up, it makes it hard to hear me. I will try to talk louder over it, but I need to turn the music up so I can actually like hear what I'm. I can actually hear this and make sure that the skips have been fixed. God damn it. Hold on. If instance. Make sure they can't do the same one twice. Yeah, that's what I thought. God damn it. Hold on. Okay. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Basically, the long and short of it is I made up a variable just long enough to just hold this information for a little bit while I shuffled some things around. Uh, okay, that should probably fix that. Um, Okay, cool, that works. Okay, so the main reason why um, so basically as it is right now, right? We have 6 waves for the boss ships. Right now, the boss spawns at 45 seconds. Move this over to 60. Now we're just gonna add waves and bug fix audio not spotting back. Okay, so right, adding waves in Shoot Lancer is relatively straightforward. Um, all I really have to do is make an empty one of these nodes right here and then throw in enemy spawn data. And then that's basically it, right? So to make my life easier, for example, I'll just duplicate is so I'll duplicate this a few times. So now we have 10 normal waves, and then the 11th wave is the boss, right? So 7. Oh, rather we have 3 more normal waves, and then the 10th wave is the boss, right? And at least for right now, the boss is like the 10th wave spawns at 60 seconds. So from here, basically, we just need to adjust the times of these. And the way that I have it set up is that I can basically choose whatever arbitrary spawn time I want for every enemy in the wave. And if I want multiple enemies to show up at once, I just have to give them the same. I just have to give them the same. If I want and if I want like a wave, if I want enemies in a wave to spawn at the same time, I just have to give any or as many of the individual as many of the individual enemies in the wave the same time as I want, right? So if I can do so like these two, for example, are both at 40 seconds, right? 8, 9, this is 10, 11. So right, I have these two both spawning at 40 seconds, right? But physically, I want to make sure that they are moved apart. So I'll take the transform. I'm gonna shift the value of this one down a bit more. And I think these should both be, yeah, these are both troopers. So we have 2 troopers spawn for the 7th wave, here and here. Then I want a scout in the middle, maybe like a one like 1 second later. So all I have to do is now change that to scout. I just have to check So I want between 192 and 479. So let's do like, so yeah, this is basically how I do these. This is how I basically do these troop placements. I do them kind of like by hand, insofar as like this is concerned. I could probably figure out a system where I do, and then I guess we can do another scout like a little bit lower at the same time. So basically, right, if I really wanted to, I could probably set it up such that like I set up a way for this to read. I could set this up such that I could like have it. I could have it like read this spawning information out of text files, but that's kind of a pain, and I don't really want to do that, so we're not gonna. Um, Game dev stream making us want to eventually invest in RPG Maker with when it. Oh yeah, the one for Switch. Yeah, I'd heard about it, and I was like, wait, they're putting an RPG Maker out on the Switch. I'm like, okay, that's impressive. Um, it has like co-op development or something on it, right? I don't quite remember the details. Um, I heard about it in passing, but didn't look into it too deeply. Um, Mostly because I got. This is not me saying anything bad about RPG Maker necessarily. I was just sort of bummed out when Unity decided to kind of like show its ass because I was really looking forward to learning how to use RPG Maker Unite. Because the main thing that made it hard for me to use RPG Maker was mostly that I don't like and don't know JavaScript. So like RPG Maker MB and MZ leaning on that more heavily, it's not a bad thing, right? The whole thing is it's going to allow you to folks to upload or download assets. Huh? Hold on a second. I gotta Google that now. I want to hang on because okay, I see. All right, so there's that. Okay, products. Okay, okay. I just had to. I sat for it for a second. I had to just think really hard. Okay, I see. A lot of folks upload, download assets. You learn maybe how it gets around me. Yeah, because I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, now is the thing that they're doing that is with like supposed to be the. Also remembering a bit of game dev advice we saw from someone ages ago that's also powering this with don't. Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like it's not, and I'm saying this in a general sense to be clear, right? I am saying in a very general sense. If your game is basically just like your version of like Breakout or Pong or whatever, right? That is fine, right? The thing about learning how to, it's the same principle. Okay, my writers in here are going to understand this. It's the same principle about why you don't tell people that like fanfic isn't real writing. Because first of all, fuck that. Second of all, you don't learn how to like figure out your own voice around a thing until after you've spent some time doing work with anything. Like I can tell you straight up that I got my start doing like game dev stuff, or at least pro, or at least making games. I'm gonna put it like this: I never sold anything that I made in like Mugen commercially. No way, because I was using a bunch of like borrowed assets for stuff, right? But my one of my earliest frameworks for understanding the way that like making games in some capacity works. First time I really intersected with that, RPG Maker 2003 and Mugen, right? And with Mugen, I get assets and sprite rips from like existing games and be like, all right, I'm gonna make a Mugen, right? Like how I learned how to do the kind of stuff that eventually led me here was from doing that kind of derivative work, right? So yes, to like Sasha's point, like yeah, exactly, right? Like if you are not doing a thing for either commercial or like public release in the sense that it's like, I'll put it like this. My personal recommendation these days is that if you're like, but I don't know how to draw, I don't know how to make music, I don't know how to find stuff that is royalty free or that you have like permissions to use within certain contexts or whatever, stick to that context and use that stuff. Because then you can like put it publicly, right? Like, but yeah, like don't be afraid to just like take the things that you like about games that you like and use that as your spring off point if you are just starting to make video games. Like don't like try not to like stress the I have to be like um I have to be considerably original or it's not worth it. Like no, don't do that. Just do the thing. Damn it, don't stress that. Um Again, it goes back to the thing that I was saying earlier, where it's like the only way that you finish things is by finishing things. And I know that sounds like some like Shiro Emiya tier advice, where it's just like people die when they are killed, or just because you're correct doesn't mean you're right. But when I say the only way that you learn how to finish a thing is to finish a thing, um, I say this despite having many projects that I have not finished. The only way to finish a thing is to finish the thing means that um, you have to try to do something and finish something in order to understand what it is to finish something. And it doesn't matter if the thing that you finish is 5 minutes long or an hour long or 20 or 40 hours. Finish a thing, even if it is a small ass thing. I made a game that you can really only play for like 30 seconds or so. Yeah, but you made a game. That's the important part. The specific context was Toby Fox's first game was a ROM hack of Earthbound that he tried to smash the boss theme of Live Alive into. Right, exactly. Yeah, literally, right? Like you have people that will tell stories about how they cut their teeth in making games on. Hold on, I need I need your position to be like locked. I would like you to not. Right. Hold on. I think I can only like lock it. Okay, good. I think that should stop that from. I said. Okay. Anyway. But yeah. No, exactly. Right. It's where I am right now in content creation. Terrified to do it, but yeah. Yeah, right. And that's the thing. I feel like given the fact that I am like basically a big ball of anxiety, I sort of feel a type of way about telling people to do things that I don't do myself. Um, but I tell y'all to do the things that I don't do myself in the hope that you surpass Falcon and and do them precisely because well, I guess you could say that I'm sort of overcoming that by virtue of the fact that like you see me sitting here working on this game in front of y'all. Um, right? Yeah, Faye isn't online yet. Yeah. I figured Faye weren't, but like one of those things where it's just like, yeah. Okay. Focus face on. Alright. And then wave 9 is fine being 2. Let's just roll like 2 troopers out, I think. Quick load. Roll 2 troopers here. Oh, no. Let's do... I skipped 10. 10. 11. 12. 10. 11. 12, 13. Yeah, I want 11 and 13 to come in at about the same spot. So 10 is up here. 11's a little... Let's move 11 up a little bit. 256. And then 13 is also at... So 10, 11, 12 all come in. I want 10, 11, 12 to all come in at around 40 seconds. And 13 is just a regular old drone that comes in about a second later. 14, 15, 16. And we'll do 17, 18. And that's the boss. So we have... Eight. I can't even do my math right. So this is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't actually have to number these for it to work correctly. I'm just numbering them so I know how many enemies I have total in level. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, so yeah, about 22 regular enemies, and then... Okay. But yeah, but to go back to the thing I was saying before, I lost my train of thought. The Shan said a thing, I was like, okay, right, yeah. He's not online yet, and then my brain completely shut down. Right. So, with all of that, that feels like those waves didn't stagger out the way I would have liked. 7. All right, let me push these a little. 2, 2, 2. So yeah, some of this is also just going to be me like messing with the way that some of these are staggered out just to get a specific feel. 6, 6. And a few new waves. Boss spawns at 70 seconds. 5. Should be the 4th wave here, I think. One thing I want to check real quick. Okay, hold on a second. Gonna go look up a thing in Godot real quick. Godot get back. So yeah, okay. So get play back position. That print. I'm going to regret this in a minute. I can tell. I'm going to regret that tremendously in a second. But I need to get this thing to like actually cooperate with me. Yes, yes, yes. You're yelling about that. Okay. Okay. So my question is, why is it that I'm able to get I love that you tagged me before I even got here. Hey Kaz, how you doing? Hopefully well. Yeah, Cosmotime. I'm an EP. Fair, fair. Okay, let me see something here. All right, time to be fucking silly. Uh, this is all right. Process back position equal instance dot music get a back position. All right, we're gonna do a thing. It's gonna be silly, and all right. So we're gonna do instance dot track position. Gonna do these two things. Okay, cool. And then you do that. And float temp. No, you don't need that. We just need to like. Yeah, because every time I pause the game, we tell it to pause. Right. The only time I say resume previous music, pause menu. Okay, cool, 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 cool. That should be okay. All right. That means that I should probably just play the warning as a sound effect and not as music. That would be better. I will make sure that I do that in a second. But yeah. uh, all right. All right. We were talking about the Veilguard a bunch last stream too, weren't we? Well, like, what other exciting news did you find out, Kettle? Because I know I saw some people go like, when I say some people, I just mean like people that I happen to like watch talk about in Discord servers. I know some people were feeling a type of way about the way that like the style of the game looks, both visually and like the gameplay, and I'm just like, this is something that I only thought about when I said it at the time, but it kind of makes sense. Oh, you can be neon binary? All right. Yes. But, okay, cat puns aside, though. Cat puns to one side, though. That is good, though. Oh, gameplay trailer is so much better than cinematic trailer. Yeah, I saw a little bit of the cinematic trailer, and it's like, all right, they're really going in on, Some of like the action RPG-ish elements. Decent fucking hair for black people. We're winning. The culture is at last winning. Okay, cool. So, oh, I forgot to test the music thing. Was literally what I was intending to test this whole time, and I completely forgot. Damn it, brain! Literally what I meant to do. I was like, I'm gonna test the C to make sure that the music actually like picks up playing at the previous spot. That, and it seems like the character creation is really thinking about how lighting affects dark skin this time, which pleases me no more word features. Alright, so we're winning. We are winning, is what I'm hearing. Okay, cool. Cool both on account of the thing I was trying to program as well as that news. Load the music to play from the sound director. Or try to. If it works, play it. If it works, if load worked, then set the music nodes stream up with that. If audio manager is play on ready and music nodes stream update our track position with our current playback. Who's the CC? The character. Cattle means the character creator. So basically, yeah, what they're saying is that what they were getting at is that the character creator itself is properly accounting for um, like lighting and things like that. Much like the updated version of the Final Fantasy XIV benchmark for Dawn Trail is doing something very similar, where they like actually let you change the time of day on one of the backgrounds now, and it's a little easier to sort of like see how all of that is going. Yeah, yeah. Like Dawn Trail looks like it's going to be doing a really really good job, ideally with that. Um, so I'm excited for that. It's also great for making pale characters not look. Yeah, um, yeah. I want to say that based on what little I know about the technical details of this sort of thing, um, part of it is that if you go out of your way as like a developer, part of it is making sure that you. I think some of it is rooted in like how you do. I think it's called like subspace surface scattering or something, where if you are able to like properly um if you are able to like properly set up like subsurface something scattered. I don't remember the exact thing, but it's a thing about how like light reacts when it is like in and within skin. Um, like Dawn Trail mostly uses it, according to what I've been told, for like characters' faces to help light it better in certain spots, or like control the lighting a little bit more. I would imagine that the Veilguard's character creator is both doing that and has probably like adjusted. Okay, no, I don't know enough about 3D modeling to be able to say that, to be able to speak on it definitively, but it sounds like basically they are paying more attention to the way that the light needs to like hit actual skin and how light then reacts when it is like, shining within and under skin. If you don't do either of those things correctly, that's when you get like void creatures and things like that because doesn't the light simulation isn't like bouncing correctly or whatever. Um, how you can tell that I am not a 3D, that I don't know a lot about 3D lighting and stuff for video games. The fact that I kind of just like explained it in this horribly inefficient manner. If the fade out time is 0 or negative, just stop the fade out. Otherwise, all right. Save information about the previous track in case we need to jump back to it. Music over to the new track. Zooms the previously playing music at its previous position in the playback. A temp variable to save the previous save currently to update the previously playing track, whatever is playing now. Switches the music over to this track thing at the playback point that it was on. Plays boss music. Plays results music. It's also a problem learning photography and videography. Not, yeah, exactly. The general thing that I have been taught is that as far as like black people are concerned, right? Especially if you're looking for like nice, like good extremes of lighting. Um, with our skin tones, just going for like really, really bright stuff out the gate. And when I say bright, I don't mean color. I mean like the intensity of the light um, and not so much like how saturated the color is. Because if you look at, for example, like Moonlight, for example, the movie I'm talking about, like there are very intense lighting setups in that movie that are also really fucking colorful. Um, I'm also pretty colorful. But yeah, like the intent. So yeah, like the intensity might be the wrong word, but like basically how bright the light is in terms of like the actual intensity of the brightness and not so much the color is like the determinant really. If you watch Moonlight, I know I said that like 3 times already. and you look very carefully at how they do the lighting, they get very intense, like blues and indigos and all sorts of other colors, and really make them like light and bounce well off of people's skin. So it's just a matter of like knowing where to both the placement of the lights as well as the intensity of the threshold itself and how you like the environment around people. You can make it work if you're paying attention to that sort of thing. If you're not, shenanigans happen. Um, plus value. Okay. Good, 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 good. We're gonna probably go at least a little bit past 9 o'clock today, just because I want to like make sure that like we have a solid grounding uh, in terms of just like how the waves feel. To 5. 6. 7. 9. And this should be the 10th one right here. I need to shorten the time a little bit, like to 65, because that sort of a lull means that you're expecting another one, or I throw in another wave there. To change topics a bit, how do you test the game in a genre you're not good at? That is when playtesting becomes even more important, honestly. Because what winds up happening is that if you can get a big enough crowd to playtest the game, the people who are really good at it. Hang on. Oh, I know what happened there. That was hilarious. I know how to fix that. Hang on. I need to make sure. So movement state, the timer that puts it into movement state. I'm looking at idle state. So here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing, right? You would think, right, that because of this debug where it says stage 1 boss has entered stage 1 boss movement state from defeated state, you would assume that this means the problem is in movement state. But the problem is not in movement state. I can tell you that right now. The problem is over here in the idle state because I made it switch directly to the movement state up here when the state timer times out. And what I should do is this. What I'm going to do here is very simple. It's very, very simple. I'm going to put in a breakpoint where, metaphorically, not literally, but a breakpoint where when the state timer times out, rather than just immediately switching to the movement state, right, it's going to stop over here at check live and basically go check if this boss is alive before switching to the movement state. Right? Very simple. That's all check live does. Check if this boss is alive before you switch to the movement state. Because what was happening was in the idle state, I set it so that, hey, whenever the timer runs out, switch states. But as you can see, when the boss is dead, we shouldn't do that. So how do we handle it? We make it go when it times out to go, hey, go to this function and run it whenever the state timer while you're in idle state times out. Double check to see if you should even be allowed to switch states when this timer runs out. But yeah, to answer your question more fully, Kettle, play testing. Get other people to play test the game and get them to do it a lot. And the reason why I say that is, and here's the caveat, right? This is not to say that you take everything that they suggest and implement it, right? So here's how I handle feedback when I'm doing playtesting stuff, right? Or how the team in general does it also. One player bringing it up, or one player bringing up a problem is one player. Two is two. Three or more is when you start to question. So when I say that, what I mean is, if one player expresses that they have a problem with something, and this is not to say that you always disregard it just because it's one player, but if one player says that they have an issue with something, take a note of it, but don't rush to fix it. If two players say that they have a problem with something, start considering fixing it. If three or more do, then that probably means that there is something that you have to address there that's not being addressed correctly. Right? But yeah, I know that this makes it look very much like this isn't the case, but I'm also not super great at like at shoot 'em ups or even like actual bullet hell games. I'm not good at either of those, really, not precisely. I know that might sound like a little bit disingenuous, like considering right this, but keep in mind that with Shoot Lancer, right, I have the advantage of knowing all the spawn pattern. I have the advantage of basically roughly knowing the spawn patterns and all that other stuff. So like a lot of what makes it seem like, oh wow, like Sean is godlike at this game. He never has to think about like how to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. The caveat is that because I am programming this game, right, I know roughly where all the spawns are, right? And most shmups generally do not necessarily do that much randomization of like where their enemies spawn. Not that much of it. Not really. Um, Also, precision platformers. I could actually make one since it's so heavily pushed in game design class, but play it, not so much. Yeah. The less although I like it is Murder on My Hand. Yeah. But yeah, like basically the thing is that you get people who are a lot better at those games, right? And but here is the trick also. To research these games, you do not necessarily have to be good at them. For playtesting, you get a bunch of people, some of whom might be really, really good at it, and they clear these things like a breeze, right? So this is where it gets difficult, right? Because the thing that you want to be careful about is that you are not, even if unintentionally, biasing the way that you sort of set up everything in your game. You don't want to bias it towards the people that don't have issues with it. It's kind of complicated, right? Because the thing that you run into if you're not careful. So, for example, with fighting games, I can say with a fair degree of confidence as far as fighting games are concerned, there is no circumstance under which you should necessarily be balancing exclusively for the people who play your game at the peak. No, don't. That's not a good idea. Um, and the reason why I say that is, hang on, which enemies are spawning here? Enemy. Let's flip this a little bit. I want a high scout. Hang on. If it's two scouts, I want this scout to be higher up. So let's pull you up. 100. Other scout is good there. I want there. I want you a little bit lower, right about there. Yeah, yeah, that's or what Stubby said is the more accurate form of what I was trying to say. Like you cannot balance your game. You cannot balance your game explicitly around like the people who are performing the highest. Um, that way lies danger, basically. Um, it's why, like, so as an example of this, right? I know I keep talking about Dawn Trail a lot, but it's because it's the thing that is most recently on my mind where this is pertinent. There are a lot of people who are very upset about the changes to Monk in Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail. Basically, what is happening to Monk in Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail is, hold on, 10. I feel like I didn't change the timings. Yeah, I didn't change the timings here of these. I don't think. 8:49. 6. No, put this down to like 5. Not to 70 because it's still a little too long, but like 65. Okay, right. So Dawn Trail. Basically, the way that monks used to work is that they had what I would call effectively like two separate rotations. Rotations being like the keys that you press on your keyboard to go through a full combo attack. So monks had like two separate combos. Like if you pick up Final Fantasy XIV right now and play it before Dawn Trail comes out, and you make it to level 50 with a monk, you have two separate combos. The first combo is primarily for sort of side and back, but a little different. The basic idea. I want to spread out the ones on that way. Yeah, there we go. That's about what I was hoping the pattern was going to be. I need to spread out some of those because those sound like When you get that loud noise, it means that I overlapped a couple of their positions without thinking about it. Did I pick Monk? I should probably check that. Yes, you did. I remember. I know that it sounds weird that I can say that so confidently, but I remember when we played together. I remember what you picked. The answer is yes. That's the one that you picked. That is the class that you picked. I remember that very clearly. Um, but so here's the change that's happened. It does not actually change the physical buttons that you press. What it does change is the order in which you sort of maneuver these things. I don't remember for sure if the positionals are happening or if the positionals are being changed, but this is how it works now. When Dawn Trail releases, let me finish my thought. The two combos that I'm talking about for Monk, right? Right now, there is a series of you have, generally speaking, a rotation, especially when you're playing at like relatively high-ish levels, right? Have a rotation that is meant entirely to apply buffs to yourself and a damage over time effect to your opponent. So Monk has like 6 main buttons to press, right? Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes, Demolish, Boot Shine, True Strike, Snap Punch. Right? So when you do Dragon Kick into Twin Snakes into Demolish, right? Provided that you have a proper, provided that you're already in the proper form when you do Dragon Kick, it applies a buff to your next Boot Shine with Dragon Kick. Then it gives you a damage buff with Twin Snakes, and then Demolish create the damage over time effect on the opponent, right? So when you're getting set up and you're playing Monk at like medium high or high level, you do Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes, Demolish first, right? And you can do all of that from behind the opponent. Dragon Kick the opponent from behind, Twin Snakes the opponent from behind, and then Demolish from behind. Hey, Vinka. And then for the actual damage combo, you do Boot Shine, because you've done Dragon Kick already in your rotation. Boot Shine, which gets increased damage. You do True Strike, which is just a straight damage hit. You move to the side, and then you do Snap Punch. That is the way that Monk, if you're doing the rotation in such a way that you are trying to like maintain your buffs and swap between buffs and damage, that's the order you do the combos in. Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes, Demolish, Shine, True Strike, Snap Punch, right? What Dawn, and the reason why you have to, generally why you have to do it that, and you have a little bit of flexibility for Monk specifically, because if you do Dragon Kick, you can do either True Strike or Twin Snakes. It depends on, so like if you're messing up or you mess up and like you miss a spot in the combo, you do Dragon Kick and you're like, oh god, I gotta move real quick, and you accidentally like fuck up and press True Strike instead of Twin Snakes, you can then still go to Demolish. It's fine, right? You have a little bit of free flow in how you can do that. But with Dawn Trail specifically, what is happening is they are changing it so that when you do Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes, Demolish, what happens is that rather than each of those things giving a buff, you sort of collect these little markers that are then used to enhance the power of Boot Shine, True Strike, and Snap Fist. And the reason why they made this change is because Monks basically had to juggle keeping up Demolish and Twin Snakes, the effects from those, nearly constantly, and it was, for them, or the thing that kind of like makes Monk difficult to play when you are newly coming to it in Final Fantasy XIV is the fact that you have to maintain those buffs. And you have to keep the uptime on those buffs in between all the other stuff. So, for Dawn Trail, they are removing that. And Instead, replacing it with the system that I just described, where if you do, for example, a dragon kick, you get an Oppo sticker. That Oppo sticker makes it so that when you do boot shine, it's even more powerful than it normally is. Cool. When you do twin snakes, you get two raptor stickers. Each one of those raptor stickers makes your next true strike stronger. When you manage to get demolish, you get 3 cat stickers. Each one of those cat stickers makes your next snap punch stronger. And that's what they're doing instead of like having you maintain buffs and stuff. People who love Monk as it is now, or people who like it as they are now, it's like they're like agitated as fuck about it because they're like, now Monk has no complexity at all, and it's really da-da-da-da-da. But the thing is that for people that were approaching Monk at like a entry level to like maybe like just sort of getting there, they're like, oh god, oh man, I didn't have a particularly hard time remembering that, but the new system may be good as well. Yeah, so Kettle, the tricky part is not so much remembering part of it. The tricky part is remembering where you are in the rotation. But the other half of it is also mostly just that it's like the timers for Demolish and for Twin Snakes are really, really tight. Like you basically, I think you hold a Twin Snakes buff for like 15 seconds. Like I'm spitballing it. I could have the time wrong. I know that the buff for Twin Snakes does not last. The buff for Twin Snakes lasts. I could go look it up. They're just making that change now. I'm experiencing. No, what you're remembering for Shadowbringers is that they reduced some of the directional requirements, but Shadowbringers never got rid of the fact that like doing Twin Snakes gives you a Twin Snakes buff, doing Demolish gives you the Demolish buff. They never changed that in Shadowbringers. You're misremembering it. Or rather, it sounds like a change that would have happened in Shadowbringers, but no. All they have been doing with Monk up until this point is mostly just reducing the amount of reliance you have on directionals and positionals for the most part. I don't remember for sure if directionals are still in Dawntrail for Monk or not. I'm not looking at the tooltips right now that got released, so I don't know. Anyway, let me go back to the main point. The reason why I'm bringing this up, this is relevant to the actual point that came up initially when Kettle was like, yeah, like when we were segueing into the whole, like, yes, people who are good at playing the thing are going to give feedback, but you cannot center your changes around them. That's the thing that I was trying to talk about, that I got momentarily sidetracked from by virtue of this conversation. Not in like a bad way, just right, this is the thing I was trying to say. So here's the deal about that, right? The people who are already used to playing Monk in raids, right? With like the high-end content of Final Fantasy XIV. People who are already used to like dealing with all this stuff. They will look at those changes and go, you made it worse. This is worse. This is demonstrably worse. We made this way too easy now, blah, 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 right? But keep in mind that these people, and I don't mean this in like a derogatory sort of way in this case, right? People who have been playing at that hyper optimized level of play for Final Fantasy XIV are people who are doing things like Savage raiding. And people who have been in a situation where, like, literally, right, where literally they have been playing at like the top, or attempting to play at like the top echelons of play. There are people who look at Monk in its current state, who are just now beginning to play it, or just trying to get into it and going, this is really tight, this is a lot to remember, I'm having a hard time, etc., etc. And the thing about Final Fantasy XIV is that, generally speaking, they are aware of the fact that to a certain degree, there is a certain lack of what certain people would call like mid-range content for that game, where it's like, all right, if you're, or what some people might also call quote unquote mid-core or whatever. But like the main thing that I'm getting at is that there are certain classes wherein basically their complexity, or just like the amount of micromanagement that you have to do in order to play them efficiently, right? Or at least with some degree of ease, stresses people out. Like, all right, Shan, if you're still here, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. Probably one of the reasons why Shan is like, I suck at playing Ninja is because with Ninja, you have to basically maintain, with Ninja, you are basically trying to maintain a buff that speeds up your, that speeds up the speed of your combos, on top of occasionally having to stop and basically do hand signs, right? Every couple of seconds in order to unleash some of your other attacks, on top of then occasionally during your burst window when you're doing like your most damage. Like for your burst window, you're basically pressing a bunch of buttons all at once, trying to make sure that you stay on top of all the stuff that you want to unleash, right? So like, playing Ninja is pain. I like Ninja. Ninja as a class is really fun. It's really cool as a job. It's really fun. It's really cool. I like it a lot. But I am not kidding when I tell y'all that like playing Ninja, like, it hurts, right? Like, you have to be on top of your shit to play Ninja really well. And so for Dawn Trail, it's like what Shan said, right? For Dawn Trail, Huton, which is the buff that you need to maintain in order to keep your attack speed up. The Huton buff is now becoming an innate trait of the ninja class of the ninja job at level 45. So once you hit level 45, you automatically have a flat increase to the speed of your combos and stuff. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't have to worry about maintaining it, right? And that's cool. For Black Mage, okay, I am not a Black Mage player. So if you play Black Mage and I say a thing that sounds like some bullshit, please don't go, SJ, you're a shitter. How dare you? You have this wrong. So, with Black Mage, there is a mechanic called ley lines, where, to my understanding, I don't know if ley lines proc automatically or if you have to like manually trigger them or whatever, but while you are standing on a ley line, it affects like the potency and strength of some of your skills or some shit, right? But your ley lines, at least in the current version of Final Fantasy XIV, before Dawn Trail, when your ley lines are out, they do not move, which means that functionally, right, if you are going to play if you're playing Black Mage and you want to be like doing the thing optimally, whenever your ley lines are up, you should be standing in your ley lines. Except that bosses will also be like, hey, you manually lay your ley lines. Okay, thank you. Right, so you have to manually activate your ley lines, but once you place them, right? As the game currently stands right now, I'm getting to that, Shan. You're right, I'm getting to that. Once you place your ley lines, if the boss makes you have to move out of them, you gotta hold that shit. Dawn Trail is letting you move those. Dawn Trail is also sort of condensing some of the other like requirement and proc stuff that Black Mages sort of like need in order to like flow into their stuff better, right? Dragoon is getting a simplification to how they pop off their big damage phase. With Dragoon, it's this whole thing where you have to use these jumps in order to activate these start opening up your Dragon's Eye. When your Dragon Eye is all the way open, you have to use this move called Geierskogel and then use Nastron while Geierskogel is going blah blah blah, right? A lot of what is happening in Dawn Trail is like a lot of like condensation of certain things to stop button bloat, or in the case of Black Mage, is like what Shan just said, you are allowed to move your ley lines now as a Black Mage. You can place them down, and if you're like, fuck, these are in a bad spot because the boss is doing mechanics at you, you can move them. Not very frequently. The cooldown, I think, is like 40 seconds or something on the ley line movement, but you can move them now. right? That's the thing. I say all of this to sort of reiterate that there are people who have been playing Final Fantasy 14 for a while, who are like, they're ruining X class by doing this. They're ruining X class by doing this. They shouldn't do this. Like, Monk is ruined now, right? Blah blah blah. Like blah blah blah. Monk is ruined now. Blah blah blah. Black Mage is ruined now. It's too simple now. Blah blah blah. You should have to work to do these things. Blah blah blah. And right. The thing about it is that, and this is an MMO, so this is a little different, but with MMOs in particular, the two levers generally that you pull in MMOs are like encounter design and player toolkits, right? And where these two things will run into friction is if encounter design, right, is demanding enough that a player toolkit can, in theory, right, keep up with it. But it is the complexity of the toolkit. Like, for example, like the button bloat stuff that like Sasha's talking about is the sort of thing that I mean by like player toolkit friction, where it's like I have to press so many buttons while also trying to juggle these mechanics, right? It's one of those things where if it's like, if you're demanding a lot of complexity out of players in their toolkits, then you have to be very deliberate about how you design like encounter mechanics, because if your encounter mechanics are too full of shit, both good and bad, while also demanding like a lot of like packing a lot of complexity into player kits, that's where the friction happens. Because the mechanics will be beating the asses of your players while they're trying to like juggle all the stuff that is going on with their shit, right? Which is why literally in Final Fantasy 14, it is halfway a meme that it's like, there are people who are like, no, mechanics are for cars. I don't care about the mechanics of the encounter I'm doing. I want to get my damage. But then they die, because what that does is it puts them literally like dead ass in the middle of, hey, you chose to ignore mechanics to do damage and now you're dead. And you have caused this problem now for the rest of your team, right? So the lever that Square Enix has been trying to more or less pull, from my general understanding of low and mid-level Final Fantasy 14. I am not like doing savage rating or whatever, right? The general gist of what Square Enix has been trying to do ever since A Realm Reborn and going forward. Because Final Fantasy, like the original version of Final Fantasy 14, that game is, I'm not saying this to say, oh, Final Fantasy 14 1.0 is the world's most horrible game. It's complicated, right? Final Fantasy 14 was trying to sort of follow in the steps of Final Fantasy 11, so far as I'm aware, in the sense that they wanted to really, like, make you put a lot of thought into, like, how you did things. But the problem with Final Fantasy 14 is that it felt, at least from the stories that I've heard, just the handling of it was rough and clunky in a way that is not fun. How do I put it? There is a certain level of friction that you can and should design for in a video game. I'm going to put that out there. Now, it might sound wild to some people, but yeah, there's a certain level of friction that you do want in a game, where you want people to kind of feel that tension between two things, right? And go like, shit, I have to make a decision. You want that. But if you crank too hard in one direction or the other, it's like, ooh. And so what Final Fantasy 14 has been doing since A Realm Reborn and going forward, generally speaking, their aim has always been to try to bring down to whatever degree they think is manageable without over correcting, and sometimes they do because it happens. Like, testing and making games is hard, right? They're trying to lower the mechanical friction to a point where it is roughly in equilibrium with the that's not the word I'm looking for. They're trying to lower the friction in player toolkits so that it's roughly on par with the mechanical requirements from the design encounter. Sorry, the encounter design. That's what I'm looking for. Fuck, words are hard. They're trying to basically bring the friction from player toolkits roughly in a, like, instead of having the scale like this, they want it more like this, where like the friction that you get between player toolkits and encounter design is like, it's there, but it's not so skewed where it's like the toolkits are too complex for the encounter design, or the encounter design is not complex enough for the toolkits. They're trying to like get those things in roughly the right spot. But mostly, since ARR, they've been doing that by gradually like paring down the complexity of the player toolkits, right? And that's the thing. They're trying, and a lot of people feel the type of way about that because to them, they're losing their ability to be expressive and wild and all this other stuff because they are lowering the complexity of the player toolkits. But the reason for that is because they want to be able to. Part of it is that they're looking at things like Savage and Ultimate raids and things like that, and going like, right, there's only so much shit that we can throw into these while also asking players to balance this stuff. One of these has to give, but Savage content is meant to be difficult, so we're gonna just pull down the toolkits a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to sort of like balance these two things, right? But the knock-on effect this has, and this is finally going back to the thing that Keto was asking about before, where it's like, what do I do if I don't know how to play my game? And like the thing about like not taking account from only your top tier players into account. The thing is that by lowering a lot of the complexity of the player kits, you get comments like what Cat Wizard and Sasha are talking about, right? Where you are able to look at classes and they feel more approachable. I have literally seen people who have said, I don't like Monk in Final Fantasy XIV Community 7. They're like, yeah, Monk was super complicated and I was really scared to try it. They saw the Dawn Trail changes, right? And they're like, yeah, the skill floor is being lowered and the ceiling is also dropping a little bit. But I've seen people say, based on the change that they saw for Dawn Trail Monk, that they're like, yeah, I want to try Monk now, because now it doesn't look like I'm like sitting here having to run like 70 chests to like not get my shit pushed in. And that's good, right? Like, you want people to feel as if they actually like have a chance to really sit down and engage with the class in a way, right? And that's the thing. Like, so there are people who have been playing the game for a while who are going to be shitty about it in some aspect. And there are certain things where it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Where you're like, there's a specific level of complexity that you really wanted and that you miss. And I'm like, okay, I don't fault you for missing that. But it's also one of those things where it's like, you are not the only people that are playing this game. You are also playing this game alongside people who have not been playing it since 2.0 and do not, right? They are coming to the game as it is. And for Square Enix is a business. Creative Business Unit 3 is in the business of business. And so their concern, much like it is with fighting games, their concern is not exclusively just the people who are playing at the top. It is everyone who is playing the game. And they're going to make their decisions for balancing and stuff based on that. In a more humorous bent, I've been through Arc System Works balance patches. There is basically nothing that Square Enix can do at this point to hurt me. I'm invincible. And I know that sounds like hubris, but like deadass. I have been through so much shit with changes in old Arc System Works games. There is not a damn thing that Square Enix can do to me to make me cry about it. Nah, I'm built different for that. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for the ads to clear real quick. Shan said something important that I want to talk about, but I gotta wait for the ad to clear. Okay, commercial. All right, yeah, ads are over. Okay, so yeah, Shan, I appreciate the looks, but we got a list. My mods helped me keep a list, and we pick where to go. So when I said looking for that, I meant like I'd go look at the list. I appreciate you doing the looks though, but right now PT's on cooldown, so we're not gonna head over there. But that said, right. So yeah, you're good. Just wanted you to know. So yeah, the thing that Shan said that I wanted to cover was that like, right, talking about that like mechanic, like that balance between like player toolkits and combat and encounter design. It looks like, based on the fact that tanks got a lot more damage mitigation in Dawn Trail, or at least will be getting it as they are leveling through levels 90 to 100. There's a pretty good chance that they are deliberate, and from things that like Square Enix has been saying on the media tour also, it looks very much like the like they're making some adjustments on the encounter design part to try to like push players harder on that, which includes things like doing more damage and things like that, right? And it's one of those things where, yes, part of the encounter design and considering player toolkits versus encounter design is things like how much damage do the enemies do? Because if your enemies are doing a lot of damage and your players are trying to juggle these really complex toolkits, the margin of error that you allow your players with complex toolkits against enemies that do high damage is basically like razor thin, right? And that is a thing that you have to design around, right? And it is the nuance of that and how players who play your game at a high level versus players who are learning your game still, that's where that whole thing of like, that's where that whole thing of, hey, so you have to keep in mind that Square Enix is, that's why people complain about class identity kind of, right. For context, for people who don't know what the class identity conversation is about, the short answer is basically that when Square Enix makes these changes where they are either doing quality of life passes or condensement passes on player toolkits, players start to complain that all the classes feel the same because of things like what's called the 2-minute burst window, where basically every class, at least in the sort of current like end game-ish state of Dawntrail, basically has these windows every 2 minutes where they want to line up as many of their really hard-hitting skills as possible, and they optimize for that, right? Which is a fair complaint, but the thing is that that is sort of a result of the way that like that's a result of the way that a lot of the encounter design for the really hard stuff sort of works, right? Where it's like you need to be able to pump out damage at very specific thresholds, or like a savage raid is going to like literally kick your teeth in, right? And some of that I know Square Enix is thinking about adjusting, right? It's because players have gone to the degree of optimizing it. So it's not as bad as I have heard it is said in World of Warcraft. It is not as bad as I have heard as it is said in World of Warcraft as far as that goes. But the ethos is very similar, right? Where it's like the nature of the way that the top players have played and like tried to optimize the living shit out of things is that Square Enix has sort of followed those cues a little. So you get things like the 2-minute damage window and like sort of like condensation of and the reworking of classes. Right. The class identity thing. The people getting shitty about class identity are going like, hey, like all these classes feel the same because you keep simplifying. And it's like not really. Like 2-minute burst windows aside, right? I can tell you, okay, even taking Monk and Dragoon into account, right? 2 melee DPS classes. Monk and Dragoon, even with the changes that have happened, they still feel very radically different from each other, right? Or if I'm going to be even more extreme about it, Monk and Samurai. With whatever changes and whatever simplifications are going on, right? Monk is effectively not a support DPS. Not really the thing. Monk, amongst the DPS classes, generally has the most support skills, is the way that I want to look at it, right? Because you have Mantra for increasing everybody's healing. You have, much like how Dragoon has like Battle Litany, Monk has Brother, right? So, with Monk, you have generally slightly more of a lean towards being able to like throw your party members support in broad ways, because not necessarily like in broad ways, right? And this is on top of like Monks also being able to like give themselves a damage buff with like Riddle of Fire, right? Samurai, on the other hand, Samurai does not give a fuck about anybody but Samurai, right? Samurai does not have any utility skills that benefit the party directly. Samurai is literally just about shitting out damage to melee DPS. That's it. Like your job as Samurai, build Kenki, fuck them up. That's it. You don't have anything like a Battle Litany or a Brotherhood for like increasing party members' critical rates. You don't have anything like Dragon Side is going to go away for Dragoons, but Dragoons will suit. Dragoons currently have the ability to like give a damage buff to one other member in their party while also buffing themselves. That's going away for Dawntrail. But my point being, right, that to some degree, yeah, but the thing is that, yeah, you can make an argument about it, but the thing is also that the classes still feel very different from each other. Okay, I do not know how to do healing shit, so Sasha, Cat Wizard, if I'm talking out my ass, you can let me know. But generally speaking, when you think about classes that do healing, when you think about healers that do a lot of their work by applying barriers, right? Like Sage. Playing Sage is very different from playing White Mage in the sense that, like, yeah, you have healing and stuff like that, but generally, barrier healers are more about, like, mitigating damage, and so as a result, their actual healing potency is a little bit lower, but their ability to mitigate damage is higher, right? So it becomes a question of how well do you know how to apply shields and when. But on the flip side, for something like White Mage, right, your mitigation for damage is a little bit lower, but your how about you eat the entirety of my ass? On the other hand, with classes like White Mage, right, your healing potency is generally higher, but your damage mitigation is like not so much, right? And that is the interplay of the class identity stuff that people say is being lost, right? It's not. It's classes are still going to play the way that they play. For tanks, for example, warriors are still the most undyingest, angriest motherfuckers you will ever run into. Period. Right? Like, warriors have so much self-healing and mitigation when you get high enough that it doesn't... I literally go from playing warrior on one character to playing Gunbreaker on another, and I have to remind myself, right, I do not have Bloodwedding. Right, I do not have Equilibrium. Right, I do not have all these other things that, like, shake it off. I don't have all these other things that I can use to basically just become fucking unkillable when I'm playing Gunbreaker. Right? Like, it doesn't work that way. So class identity is never a thing that's disappearing. It may... some of the more obtusely different things may change, but it's like... Ugh. Yeah, no, Gunbreakers have mitigations, but Gunbreaker, you have to be on point. Right? You have to be on point with your Gunbreaker mitigations. You really do. Because you don't have as... Like, you have, like, Heart of Corundrum and, like, Brutal Shell and things like that. But, like, that's it. Meanwhile, Warrior has Bloodwedding, Vengeance. That just... Nascent Flash becomes Bloodwedding. I can't remember. But, like, Warrior has so many things. So many mitigations for healing. It's kind of fucking ridiculous, right? But you play Warrior, you're fucking unkillable. Dark Knight, literally you live and die by your Darkest Night casts, right? Like, I love playing Dark Knight, but Dark Knight, when you don't have the Blackest Night, is... Your butt is clenching, because you only have really, like, your class mitigations, like your role mitigations, Shadow Wall, and, like, Dark Passenger, which are not bad, but, like, TBN not only is just, like, a straight shield soak where enemies just to punch you a bunch to break it, it then gives you free use of another ability on top of that. TBN is really good, so if you know how to use it as a Dark Knight, you will literally live forever. But it's not the same as a warrior just going, I'm going to pop, like, Bloodwedding. I'm going to pop Bloodwedding, do some stuff, pop, shake it off, still keep living. You're not going to fucking stop me. I'll pop Vengeance, so I then reflect stuff. Oh, Equilibrium every now and again to keep myself going, right? So people get really shitty. It's like what Shan said. People don't understand character class design the way they think they do. And then, right, to Cat Wizard's point, Scholar and Sage are both barrier healers, but also very distinct in their playstyles. Right. Like, my understanding is that Sage is really good at doing, like, instant barriers, like, very quick and very fast. Right? But the potency of those barriers is a little bit lower than Scholars, I think. Shrug. If I have that wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah. So yeah, Kettle. No, people just don't understand class and combat design for Final Fantasy XIV the way that they think they do. A lot of people don't. Or at the very least, let me phrase it differently. Scholar gets slow but beefy shields. Okay, good. I did remember that correctly. I'm a fucking genius. There we go. Right. But to that point, right? And this is going back to the playtesting thing again, one last time. I know this has been like a tangent kettle, but I hope this has been helpful. Thing to remember about when you are doing playtesting for a genre that you're not good at, and you get people who are good at it to play it. Here is the thing, right? People who are good at playing video games are not necessarily good at designing. It is being able to play a video game very well and being able to design a video game very well are two very different skill sets. If you know how to play a game very well, you can learn how to translate that into designing a game very well. You can, right? Because if you couldn't, then why? Then do the things that like Guilty Gear would do, where it's like, yeah, we hire on people who've been playing the games for a long time as our battle directors, also, which can have its own problems, but bear with me here. If you are very deliberate about the way that you try to let go of your biases from when you were a good player of a certain thing, or if you have a good understanding, or here's the other way to look. How you translate being a good player of a game into a good game designer is that you use your experience playing to build a broad knowledge base of all of the ways that you have seen mechanics in games. And then as a designer, your job is to let go of your biases about how much you like some of those things and how much they don't, to learn how to chop and screw a little bit to get the effects that you want. If you are a little bit too fixated on exactly what you think the platonic ideal is from when you were playing, then it stifles your designing. Right? And that's the trick. That is the thing that a lot of armchair game developers have not learned how to bridge yet. A lot of people who armchair game develop, who are convinced that they understand the game better than the people who are making it, is that they don't understand. And I'm not saying this as in, oh, you don't get the vision because you're a sellout. That's not the kind of thing I'm getting. What I'm getting at is that a game developer, right? Game devs have a specific idea about how they would like their game to evolve. And they make decisions that they think are in service to that evolution. You as a player do not have that insight. You are seeing the game from the perspective of someone who is playing it, and you are suggesting things from the perspective of someone who wants to suggest things to make the game easier and better to play, but those things are not necessarily in alignment with the vision that the game devs have. And that is partially because, in your case, you just don't know, but also it is a question of how many of your biases have you let go from your position as a player, right? The reason why you cannot listen to only top tier players of your game when you're playtesting, or if you're playtesting a game and you're using people who have played a lot of other games in that genre to figure it out, the reason why you can't use them as the measuring stick is very simple. They are going to inevitably think about the things that make the game better to play for them, and for them primarily. And sometimes it's because they're doing it deliberately to be shady. Sometimes it's just the nature of the way that they think about games, and it's right. That's just the way it is. Which is why, when you're doing playtesting, if you're like, I need to get people who are better at this to playtest this for me because I can't play it, I can't test it as rigorously as I would like. Key is to make sure that you keep mixing in players who are not that excellent at it. Also, and you can't necessarily include yourself in that because you have whatever, because you're making the thing, so it's a little bit harder for you to get distance from it. But yeah, I learned a lot about Final Fantasy XIV class. It's still kind of a twist to me. Final Force Combat is really good. The bit I played, yeah, that's the thing, right? Every major expansion winds up again adjusting that player toolkit lever in a way that makes the game feel nicer to play, makes it feel a little bit less, it lowers the skill floor for the player toolkit part of things. Learning the language of the encounter design is still hard as shit. It is. But the player toolkit for all that people are like, it's becoming less complex and now it's boring and I don't like it, right? It is making it easier for the experience that Kettle was talking about, where Kettle's like, I played it and the combat feels good. And sometimes you do deliberately want a certain degree of awkwardness in the game, right? Like you do want some degree of friction in the game. In any game, you always want some degree of friction. That is not any different. That does not change. But just because you want that friction doesn't mean that you crank it super high either. You gotta like it's a balancing act, if you'll pardon the pun. It's a balancing act. Okay, we need to go find people to go hang out with. I've been talking way too much. Okay. Nope. Catching that. I didn't say that. I have been talking a lot, and it is time for us to go hang out with someone. Not too much. I have been talking exactly as much as I needed to. So we are going to go find somebody to go hang out. Do I have a mod available to throw down links and stuff? Probably. No, ads are not. No, ads literally just ran. Oh, I know that you're messing with me. Sorry. You're good. You're good, Chuck. You're good, Chuck. You're good. You were messing with me and I got fucked up. Lowers what? See, I knew you were over there. I'm like, if I don't say this correctly, Cosmo's is literally gonna come roll up with fair weapons and start throwing shit at me for ripping on myself for talking too much. I fucking knew it. Anyway. TLDR, links and shit. I do game analysis and design at cohost.org/SJHSgames. At some point, I will start remembering to actually post like shoot Lancer videos and shit over there. I will try, but it's really hard because I forget a lot. Stream VODs are up at youtube.com/@SJHSgames. Go check them out over there. Ko-Fi, if you want to support me in the stream but don't want to give money to Amazon and Jeff Bezos, Ko-Fi is the spot. Throne. As we saw last stream, Throne is a wonderful place for you to buy things or help contribute to buying things that help serve either my apartment or the stream. Literally last stream, somebody was kind enough to like literally buy out dual monitor arms and second monitor that I need for Ariel, which is the computer that is like giving all the streaming data to the streaming computer. Makes it easier for me to not only work when I'm offline, but also for me to stream without like accidentally dragging things onto the screen that don't need to be shown, right? Somebody used my Throne to fund both of those near the end of stream on Sunday, and I was kind of just like, man, fuck, why did y'all do this to me? So if you like doing that kind of stuff, Throne has that. Card has all my other social media links, but really I'm just primarily on co-host. Munity, again, if you want to know more about that, munity.games is our website. If you want to join our Patreon, get your name in the credits to Shoot Lancer, and actually be able to like give feedback to us in our Munity Discord, patreon.com/Munity. We do that over there. If you want to play the pay what you want prototype of Shoot Lancer, it is out for Breath of Fire 4 is a good game, but no, that's what that, yeah, literally somebody bought out the monitor arms and the second monitor on my Throne on Sunday. And I was very overcome. If you go look at the VOD, you'll see. But yeah, if you want to play Shoot Lancer, munity.itch.io/Shoot Lancer-prototype. It's over there. Near the end of June, I'll be updating it with wherever we make it here. Okay. We're going to go hang out with... I don't know if we're going to catch Rito this time. Let me see. Damn it. I knew it. I was like, I've been talking too long. I'm going to miss him. Because he gets off before I do. Fuck. All right. Man, what the fuck? We haven't been by. No, we've been talking about game dev stuff. We're gonna go hang out with Silver. And the reason why we're gonna go hang out with Silver is because they are currently looking through Steam Next Fest demos. So I feel like it's appropriate, since I'm an indie dev and we were doing indie dev stuff and we were talking about game dev. Let's go hang out with Silver while they go do that. Give him an SJH this raids. Your favorite emotes. Let him know who sent you. Plans for this week. I don't know what we're playing for Fighting Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday this week. It was going to be DNF Duel, but the DNF Duel DLC got delayed for like another week. So I don't know what we're doing on Friday. Maybe it's more Street Fighter. I don't know. Fuck. Sunday is more Breath of Fire 4 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then next Wednesday is more Shoot Lancer stuff. That's all I got. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, don't go outside if you don't have to. Be excellent to each other. But not to bigots, racist, terrorists, sexists, anti-queer folks, or Zionists. Trans rights are human rights. Black Lives Matter. Reproductive rights belong to everyone. Palestine must be free. The Congo must be free. The Sudan must be free. And New Caledonia must be free. None of us are free till all of us are free. That's the way that it is. Thank y'all for coming by. I'll see you whenever I see you. Take care. Yeah? Deuces.